For this assignment, I'm going to be talking about a program entitled Safety on the Farm. So we'll start off with our program proposal. So a little bit of background. The Kentucky Injury Prevention and Research Center reported that 17 Kentuckians engaged in agriculture, fishing, and hunting died on the job in 2022. Of those fatalities, 9 involved agricultural machinery, making it the second leading cause of occupational fatalities in Kentucky. Because of this, I've come up with the program Safety on the Farm, in which we'll have school-age kids, their parents, and a couple other people we'll talk about when we get to our target audience. That will come, and we're going to introduce them to different types of farm machinery and the safety that goes along with that. So this will include livestock, ATV, lawn and garden, any sort of machinery, electric, water, grain engulfment, chemicals, fire, health. We're even going to talk a little bit on mental health, and then we'll also do firearms as well. So our participants or our target audience for this, we're going to target school-age kids. I've known other people to do this, and they see that the farmers they can usually target are kind of set in their ways by the time that they get around to this. So we want to target school-age kids before they start handling machinery on their own. So probably kids under 13 will be our target audience for that. We also want to have the school involved, so teachers will also be involved with this process. Any parent that's interested is also invited to come. And then we also want to have our decision makers in our local government here. They're the ones that are enforcing the rules on this, and we want them to be there to better understand the safety. Also, they're the ones that give the funding for any safety equipment that our responders and safety personnel who will also be there will need or they'll request from our decision makers. So we want them to be there to see the importance of this as well. So program theory and our evaluation model. So our thought is if you have a hands-on program on farm safety, students and parents are going to learn from it. This will improve their awareness of how dangerous farm equipment can be, even something that we use every day, so that they can make more informed, safer decisions when it comes to letting their children operate equipment or when operating equipment themselves. So for this, we used a logic model. We've each made our logic models. This is just a quick look at mine. We've gone over some of the information on the situation statement, and we'll talk more about some of the other stuff on here as well, but I just wanted to pop it up on the screen so you all could get a quick glance at it. So roles and responsibilities. So we will have staff and volunteers. This is going to be an extension office event, but we're also going to include school staff because we want them as involved in this process as we can get them. But this is going to be all hands on deck. So we also are going to request for volunteers to come as well. This can include working a booth, making sure things are running smoothly, or just serving as a group leader. So training for these people will just be a quick meeting during the week before. It'll be a quick overview of the schedule. They're going to get kind of a map with the schematics of the event. So we'll just kind of go through how the day should run or how the event will look that day so that they can get prepared before they get there. And then as far as program planning, it's going to take a couple months to get this together. We're bringing in a lot of outside groups in, and it's going to take time to plan where everybody's going to go. And to coordinate this with the school, they're also going to need a big heads up to get this on their calendar. So I left about 4 months in advance to plan, and our program planning will be done by a committee that is put together by the project manager, which would be me. So we just did a little rough budget for this. The categories were something that are set in stone, and then of course I put an estimated amount in for each thing. So funding and money was one of the big ones. We want to give away promotional items and any sort of giveaways we can. This is the first time we've had this event, so this will be a big draw about getting people in. We're also going to put a lot of money into marketing. As you can see, we're going to do newspaper, radio, newsletter, Facebook ads, all the ways that we traditionally get information out. And then we'll also send something home with the students from school as well to guarantee that every student gets this information. For the facilities, we're going to use the extension office. We don't have to pay for this, but in order to kind of, if we wanted to do a cost analysis later, we wanted to include this as far as the electric, water, anything else we'll use here. Educational materials. I want to offer for any of our speakers that we'll print out anything that they have, any handouts, pamphlets, PowerPoints, just so that all this information can go home with our parents to look over later, and the same for our students. Time. Of course, we're not going to pay our volunteers, and we're not getting paid extra to do an event like this, but once again, as we're going to do a cost analysis on this, we want to value everybody's time. I think I gave everyone a minimum wage amount, and then I budgeted for about 10 hours. Some of us are probably going to spend more time on that, like me as the project manager, but I just kind of wanted to get an average amount to kind of come out with an estimated amount for our time area. For our meal, this is our first event. If we wanted to later on, we could charge people for the lunch. But for this year, we'd like to make that free, and that's going to be a catered meal. This is a big area that we would like to get a sponsorship for as well. And then our speakers, most of them are going to be free, but there will be some that we kind of pay for. There are some through KDA that you have to pay for, so we'll do that. And then if any of them we want to offer to pay for their transportation and their time if we can. So an assessment of our results, we'll know this program was successful if we see an increase of 50% of participants who use farm safety features, if the participants have a 50% increase in their knowledge about the safety features, participants have a 50% increase in their knowledge about overall farm safety, they have a 75% increase in knowledge about resources available to them. We see an increase in the average age of youth using farm equipment above the age of 18, or 13. This is the average age right now. And if our participants gain a desire to change their practices to better keep themselves safe. So now our evaluation plan. So another brief description, we've kind of already talked about what the program is going to be, but it is going to be a little bit of a touch a truck style, as we like to call it. So the stations will be set up with our speakers, but we also would like them to bring equipment and their safety items that they have so that they can show people how the safety features work. So we'll have different groups set up. So we've gone through the different groups already. But for example, for grain engulfment, of course, we're not going to bring a grain bin, but they'll be able to bring the harnesses and the equipment they use to help people that get stuck in that situation. We also are going to ask local dealerships to bring things like tractors to discuss the safety features that are available to people that their tractors may already have and they just don't know about. So we'll have those. This is going to be a lot of moving parts and it's going to take a lot of pre-planning to get put together, but we're pretty excited for it. So for the type of evaluation, I think it's best to start with the purpose. So our purpose is to make an impact on the knowledge about farm safety, to improve our program implementation. And then the big question is, how can we improve this for future years? Because this is our first time having this event. I decided to go with a collaborative evaluation, more specifically a empowerment evaluation. The key objectives here are to train, facilitate, and empower the individuals and the group advocates, and to bring light to the issues of concern. And that falls under empowerment evaluation, and that's almost word for word the description for it. So I felt like this was a pretty easy place to start. We want our stakeholders to be actively involved in the planning process. We've got quite a few stakeholders in this, so we want to make sure that we can meet all the criteria that they have for their evaluation and the information they would like to get back from this. This is a very people-centered topic, and we're focusing on program improvement. Like I said, this is the first one, so it can only get better from here. So outcomes for this event, this is straight off of our logic model, and we've kind of covered some of this in our assessment as well, but we want them to have an increased knowledge about the resources available to them, increased knowledge about safety features, gain desire to better keep themselves safe, and an increased knowledge in overall farm safety, not just with equipment. Medium term, we want an increased use of farm safety features, an increase in the average age of youth on farm equipment, and an increase in the number of participants who would be willing to help if there was an incident on the farm because they now know the best way to help. Long term, we want to see a decreased number of farm-related accidents and an increase in the amount of equipment available to assist in farm-related incidents. For stakeholders, of course, we have our participants who we've talked about. We also would like to include healthcare and mental health. More specifically, I talked about the UK nursing school. They've got curriculum that they would be able to bring and discuss with our participants. Raising Hope Kentucky, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with them. They can come out and they bring nurses with them and they'll do some health testing while they're there, and they can also touch on mental health a little bit as well. The Ray of Sunshine is a local group. They are mental health advocates, especially in our county. They had a personal loss and they're really great advocates, and everyone is really comfortable with them, and they're really well known in our community. So I think they would be a very beneficial stakeholder. And then I group local government under there. Once again, we want them to come in so they can see the safety and hopefully push for more funding and more regulations. The Kentucky Department of Ag, We'd like to have Dale Dobson come out. He does a lot with safety features, and he would be a great presenter. And then, of course, we'd like equipment salesmen to be involved. We don't want them to push their products on people, but we do want them to share safety features that are available for them that they can either purchase as add-ons or that may already be on their equipment and they didn't even know about it. So for our evaluation questions, is this program relevant to our county and are the participants satisfied? Was this program efficient? Did this program achieve its intended purpose? Was this program cost beneficial? And was this program adequate, or did it solve the problems that we were trying to solve? So for our methods, I think a mixed method approach is definitely the best way to go. So we're going to collect qualitative and quantitative data. For qualitative data, we want to do focus groups. We're going to do two. We want to do one immediately following the event and then one several months later to see the information that they've retained. This is going to be analyzed by experts in the field. So like I talked about, we could have KDA's safety expert come back in, and then we're also going to have an evaluation committee, and they're going to be just a subcommittee of our planning committee, and they're going to be really hands-on with the evaluation. So we want them to also be involved with the analyzing of the information once it's done. With our qualitative data, we're going to be quoting it, sorting it, and compiling it into categories. And then we may, if we can get this advanced, go into coding it as well. Quantitative data is basically just going to be on the knowledge that they've obtained throughout this. So we're going to use pre-test and post-test. So it's going to be one pre-test, two post-test, one immediately following, and once again, one several months later, because we just want to see what information they've retained. We want to know immediately how much information they've learned and then how much they've retained later on. And for this, we're just going to compare percentages of knowledge change just to kind of get a grasp on that. I've included an example of our post-test. So of course there would be more questions, but I just gave 3 examples. And then we've got some open-ended qualitative questions so that we can get some information from everyone instead of just those in the focus group. Just some very broad ones about how was this beneficial? What was your favorite part? And how do you think we can better our field day in the future? So for our evaluation management plan, for data collection, the evaluation committee, like I said, very hands-on. They're going to create, distribute, and collect data, and they're going to be the ones that make up our collection tools as well. As far as analysis go, qualitative data, we want to bring in some experts, our farm safety experts, some of our safety personnel, because they may know better what they've talked about, and they're going to pick up on more keywords than, say, our evaluation committee. But we do want our evaluation committee involved as well, because they're going to pick up on some of the implementation and how we can work on that and change it. This part is going to be really important that we get a nice moderator who's comfortable with both the safety aspects and the implementation aspects to make sure that that goes smoothly. Quantitative data, where it's just the numbers, where it's pretty easy to run, we're just comparing percentages, our evaluation committee will handle all of that. As far as creating and writing the report, project manager is going to be the key contact for this. We want everyone from the planning and evaluation committee to be involved to get as much information as we can put into this report. But I think it's best to have a key contact and one person that writes it, and then everyone else can look over it and put their input in. So our project manager is going to write the report. As far as coordination between project manager, planning committee, evaluation committee, we're going to work very closely together. Project manager's plan is to be as involved with every aspect as they can. Of course, this is going to take a lot of people to make it work. So there will be some things that get missed, but they plan to work as closely as they can with the other groups to get things coordinated and to make sure they flow smoothly for even an event that it's the first time putting it on. At this time, we don't think an external evaluator is necessary. If we see some like conflicting information on our data, we may bring one in just to kind of look over and see what we've missed. But for right now, we're not planning to utilize an external evaluator. So our communication plan, we're going to share our results through a success story. A success story just puts so much information into one neat little package. It's quick, easy to read, but it gets all the data out there. I think personally, stakeholders are able to read that a little bit quicker, but they can still get the information they need to pull to utilize for themselves. So the main way will be a success story. Once we've got that put together, of course, it goes online, but we're also going to try and put it in Facebook, newsletters, newspaper, radio, all the ways we promoted our event. To get people to come, we also want to share our data that way to make sure that they can see why they attended this event and how successful it was. And then how are we going to utilize the information from the evaluation to improve our program? That's one of our key things. We want this program to get better as we continue to put it on. So we're going to take all of the results that we've gathered, even as far as just comparing the percentages for the knowledge they've taken away, to make program improvements. So if there's a group that was really successful and the kids learned a lot there, we're going to make sure they're there. If there's another group that maybe the kids didn't take as much information away from, or they were hard to work with, they may be a group that gets cut for the next years. So we're definitely going to take all this information just to implement program improvements for future years. So that is Safety on the Farm and our evaluation plan. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the chat and I'll try to get those answered. So thank you all for watching.